I think in my failures of trying to partner with people is looking at the potential. It's I see the gold, but not everybody wants to dig it out.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to the Amazing Marketing Show, where we talk about all things marketing. And today is a special episode because we're talking to somebody who knows my co-host, Chris Gray, possibly better than anybody. I'm looking forward to hearing about all the details of their partnership and their relationship, but also some of the business expertise that Chris's partner has to offer. And to introduce him is my friend and co-host, Chris Gray. Chris, how are you?
Dmitri, what up, bro?
Living the dream, man. Who's our guest?
My man, his name is Daniel Molina, better known as Danny Savage in my world. I don't do these formal, I don't write down and ask for these like profiles and formal introductions. I'm going off the top of my head. I would not be on this podcast if it wasn't for our guest today. I wouldn't be at these masterminds that we go to, Dmitri. I wouldn't have met you, Dmitri, had it not been for our guest today. I cut my teeth in the bowels of affiliate marketing. It helped me get out of corporate America, but to understand business, to have a sustainable income, to learn business processes and learn how to think like an entrepreneur and learn to see the bigger picture and learn how to get yourself out of day-to-day operations. This man has been a mentor to me and changed my life. Flat out changed my life.
That's too.
And on top of all
too much
that,
good words, bro.
and it's still coming. It's still coming because it don't stop. It's not just about business. It is not just about business. This man, we've talked about religion on this show. And my problem with most Christians, they don't walk it. They don't walk it like they talk it. Daniel walks it and he talks it. Christianity is him. It's not just something that he does or wears on his necklace. It is him, and it shows in his life and his relationship with his wife and his relationship with his kids. And so much like you, Dmitri, where I like to be around men who stand for something and not just business. My business partner does all that. And so I am happy to introduce our guest, Daniel Molina.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it, man. Love you. Love what we get to do together. It's I think 9 years ago is when I met you, and to see where we are today, I could say the same thing. I could not be at the level that I am if it wasn't from you trusting in me. You're like, who's this guy that I met in lunch at Del Frisco's in Southlake, Texas, and here we are, like, just killing it for the trades and people and helping companies grow and provide income for families. And so it's awesome. I love that I get to do this with you. And we finally got to vacation together a month ago, which is awesome. And many more for that to come. So
one of the things that we love to hear, and I know our audience loves to hear, is a little bit of the details of what we do for work, but of the personal life. So you mentioned the first time you've gotten to go on vacation. Give us a little bit of insight on how that went.
Yeah, with Chris.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I personally have went with Chris to like Vegas for conferences, and so me and him spent a lot of time together doing those things. But when we got our families together, it was the first time, and it was cool because we think about any child that comes and interact with my kids. It's like there's a 1,000 of them, right? I have 7 kids from the age of 8 all the way to 17. And so poor little Jewel is coming in like, oh my God, look at all these kids, right? But it was great. It was great how my kids interact and played, and and my kids are like just automatically adopt you. You come in and you're just part of the family, and they don't hide their the things that they do and say, and they are who they are. But it was amazing to be able to bless them with just the travel. We went on a boat, and got them to Sandbar. We went. Chris didn't even like hikes, and we got him to go on a hike.
Were you trying to fight people on the hike? Like, hey, I'm used to jujitsu. I'm not. What's all this hiking about?
No. But yeah, it was cool. We even got to roll together. We got to do jiu-jitsu too as well, and he's my sensei. And in the area of jiu-jitsu, he's my boss, right? And so, but I was trying to get him jacked up. I'm glad I hurt his neck, so that's like my token. Like, he's like, man, my neck hurt after that round. Like, all right, cool. He made me tap like 4 times, but at least I jacked you up too. I'm kidding. But yeah, we just love life, man. And I think we share a lot of good values and a lot of cool conversations, even with when the kids were away, or we're in the kitchen drinking coffee or whatever, and just having conversations about family, and you know um you know and just having permission to speak life and encouragement. And one thing I love about Chris and his family is that he loves critique. He loves and it's not even correction. It's just like, hey man, like in jiu-jitsu class, when you doing an armbar wrong, or whatever, it's like, hey, do this a little bit and then you got it right. And so that's the way he is in life, and I know that to be true because I've known him for 8 years, even in business and family and personal development. And that's who I am too. Like, I love critique. I've been an artist all my life, and so I want to be a 2D animator for Disney, and I'm always wanting critique because I want to be the best. I want to get better. And I think in life, in closing, what I'm saying is, you gotta receive correction. If you don't receive correction, you'll never go anywhere. You'll probably get so far, and that's it. And so, one thing I love about the vacation and all that is that he doesn't stop at just business development, personal development, but he also embraces, advice and correction, even in his family, which makes him awesome. Like, out of all the Christian guys that I know, and obviously, wherever Chris is in that walk, like, he's one of the top guys that I know I can count on, that has so many principles that are so true and right. And sometimes he's more Christian than Christian guys that I know, right? And so it's just amazing to have a partner that I can call a brother, like literally a brother, which is hard. It's hard, partners are hard to find, and when you find one, it's like, dang, God sent. All right, cool, this is gonna be fun. So
You know, I one of the things, there's so much to comment on that, but Dimitri, one of the things, and Daniel, I've told you this. When I think of Daniel, I think of love. You embody love, not just like, hey, I love your homeboy. Like, when you go, the way you go about life, if you're talking to somebody in the grocery clerk or whatever it is, it's love that's coming off, right? You embody this. I'm just going to go ahead and go here. I'm reading these books here lately. In this Joe Dispenza, Eckhart Tolle, these different books about energy, right? And there's been times, I haven't told you this, Daniel, but this is, I'm going to say it on air, is that you emanate love. You give it, that's the energy you're giving off. So you're going to attract that. And so when you give off that energy, there's almost like this effortlessness to life. Cause I've noticed it as I start to really focus on giving that out and being that. It's just this flow to life, and you're in there. You're in that mode, and I think a lot of it has to do with your religious beliefs. And so, if that comment or anything makes sense, would you speak into how you embody love and give it off and attract it at the same time?
thanks, bro. I appreciate that compliment. Yeah, I mean, for me, as a Christian, right, you look at the perfect love, which is Jesus, right? I always look at it as Jesus. I mean, love is a person, and his name is Jesus. And so, and he says, greater love is this, that a man will lay down his life for another. And so, when I look at his life and he laid down his life, every religion, really, every religion, whether you're Muslim, whether you're Buddhist, whether you're a Hindu, they all speak of Jesus. They all have some kind of reference to the love that he had and shared to the world. Now, they wouldn't call him the Messiah. They wouldn't call him, their God. But the love that he generated and poured out to many, that every religion really loved him, and they still talk about him in their teachings, right? But and so if he put a big stamp in the world 2,000 years ago, and people, so when I think about Jesus and who he is, that's who I try to emulate. So now let's take that to practical. Oh, I don't believe in Jesus or whatever. So let's just look at just love, right? So in this, define love. And if we can agree that love is to contend for the highest possible good until it's a reality, right? Just any situation, how small, how big, just contend for the highest possible good in that situation. I would add to, until it becomes a reality, even if you lose your life, even if it costs you your life, right? Depending on the relationship, right? And so then every day when I think about that, obviously I don't think about that intentionally, but I've kind of tried to live a life of how can I bless others? How can I enter a conversation and not try to take, right? This is in 2009. I felt like that's the transition. I used to network and try to get numbers and try to see how I can get something from you. And because I was a marketer, I was a sales guy. I was like, hey, I need to build my net worth, my relational capital, all that stuff. And I feel like the Lord says, stop doing that. You need to start building relationships, and that's way more, and then give them more than what you're trying to take. When I did that transition, not overnight, but when I started retraining my brain and just saying, how can I give in every situation, that's when things in my life started to change for the better, right? And so for me, when I try to emulate that energy, like you said, that love, I go first to the person who gives that energy, right? And then I spend time with that person who gives that energy, and then when I walk out, I try to then emulate and shine that energy to people, to just share love and make people feel better. Like they came into a conversation, my goal is that they leave inspired, they leave better. They didn't leave like, dang, that was a drag, or that sucked, or that whatever. It was like, that was empowering. Or and then it could be as simple as like, hey, how was your day, right? And so anyway, so thank you, Chris, for that. And I can't take credit for it for me, because in me it was selfish, and me it was all about me, until I had that paradigm shift of like, dang, I need to be others focused. I need to see how I can give more, because when I can give more and I get more, and I give more, I get more. And so I think that's where, but it was training. It was a mindset, right? To do that. And so I always contend the highest possible good in every situation, even if I get nothing out of it. And I think that's hard to do. It's hard to do.
Well, it's a beautiful thing to hear this, what you guys are saying also about each other, and as partners and as friends, usually, or a lot of times we hear about partners who, oh, well, they're not doing their fair share, they're not pulling their weight. I don't even talk to them anymore. We broke up. What are they stole money? XYZ. There's a lot of horror stories in the partnership world. And so we definitely want to peel back the layers of how your guys' partnership works, how that makes for running a business that works, and like you mentioned, is making money not just for yourselves but for the clients that you have and their families. And it's this whole network of positivity. And so we definitely want to get into that. And also, Chris, yeah, I mean, I also love all these small town Texas names where people can like sometimes meet up. So I'd love to hear how you guys met in that first time that you guys talked about it, and maybe the epiphanies that came up. So anyway, we'll get to that. One of our favorite segments of all time, and we like doing this, is the man in the arena. And as a reminder, the quote is, it's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how a strong man stumbles. The credit belongs to a man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood. And so we want to get you in there, Daniel, and tell us about where you're in the arena. Now, Chris Gray, please show Daniel how we do it. Give us a quick man in the arena.
Hey, this one's going to be different because this is more of a jiu-jitsu one. So in jiu-jitsu, you have white, blue, purple, brown, black belt, right? 5 levels. Typically takes 10 years at least to get to the black belt. Within the last month, I'm a brown belt, by the way, right? A brown belt. Within the last month, I told Daniel about this, I believe. I was messing around with this white belt guy. He's he shouldn't be a white belt. He's a blue belt now. Got recently promoted, but I'm messing around, showing him stuff. Blah blah blah. Next thing you know, Daniel, boom, he gets me in a guillotine. A guillotine's like imagine a headlock, except the guy's head is going this way, and you pull up and you choke the mess out of him. Dmitri. Anyways, the guy gets me in a guillotine. I basically have to tap to a white belt as a brown belt. That's never happened in my whole brown belt. And what Dmitri seems simple to you, but that's like you'll think about it when you're driving home type thing. You know, it messes with your ego in a very good way. And then again, earlier this week, opposite thing. I'm rolling with a high level black belt. This guy is a UFC dude. He doesn't do jiu-jitsu for fun. This is what he does, right? And when you fight somebody like that, it's scary. Like it's like fighting a gorilla that has technique. It is crazy. And so I'm sitting there and I'm fighting this guy, and he's tapping me like that, boom, boom, boom. And then I'm like, hey, what did I do wrong? He's like, oh, you don't do this. He goes, oh, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. Basically making me feel like a white belt again. Like I literally felt like I was doing jiu-jitsu for the first day. My man in the arena moment, this week and this entire month when it comes to jiu-jitsu is just being humbled and knowing that I will never arrive. I'm always vulnerable. I'm always a white belt. I'm always learning. And when those opportunities come, to accept them and not ruminate on it and think that, oh gosh, I blah blah blah. It's like, hey, okay, I'm learning something. I'm learning something. I'm always a student. And so being humbled a couple times has been my man in the arena moment for this segment.
You know, Chris, it's funny because you're one of the few guys I've ever met who actually seeks out to be humbled or seeks out to take a hit to the ego, and it's really cool, man. And so thank you for sharing that, man in the arena.
Thanks.
Daniel,
I would say I was. This is. I think this is perfect for this. So it was. I joined a mastermind, and here I am thinking, because I'm talking to my mentors, I'm sharing stuff. I got 2 mentors I talk to about business, and hey, here's what I'm doing, here's what I'm thinking, here's what my mind is. And oh, that's great, Daniel, you're doing great, you're growing, you're this, you're that. I used to take pride in that 100% of my business is word of mouth. Like up until January of this year, 100% of my business has been word of mouth. People just finding out about me. I always say, "Oh, God is all God is all God is all God." And well, how do you get so successful? It's God, right? Give him God credit. But that doesn't do anybody any good, because it's like, well, give me practical ways to get good. I want to learn, right? And you're just saying God, right? And so, but but people said, so then I joined this mastermind. I'm like, thinking I'm a black belt in referrals and just growing my business. No advertisement, no branding, no branding. My website's barely up there. Just it's a portfolio website. We don't do SEO. We don't do no marketing on a website. It's just we've grown to where we are, which is awesome, great. So then I joined this mastermind, and now I'm talking to other CEOs in the ad space. Now I'm talking to other guys that are, a guy, I think he sold his company for $40 million or something like that, like just crazy. So then, I'm going in there like, I'm doing good, man. People think I'm good, all that, And then this guy literally tears me apart. He says, in only 2 things, 2 areas. I'm going in there. Yeah, I'm making this kind of money. We grew this. We only got this many employees. Like, man, that's good. That's good. Wow, only that much employee, and you make that much. Awesome, right? And then when it got to like, well, how do you get leads? Like, how do you get calls? If you want to sell this company in the future, like, what does that look like? So, what do you mean? I don't. I just word of mouth. And I'm like, I'm in there like thinking, I'm in word of mouth. What's up? He's like, I hate that. That sucks. Like, you have nothing to sell. I'm like, wait. I'm like, what? Like, he like literally punched me in the face. And this guy, he's like from, I think, the up north. He'll let you know. He just got this, like, I don't care. I hurt your feelings. I'm gonna hurt your feelings. And I just like got punched in the face and arm barred. And this guy's like, I'm not, in this space, I'm probably like a purple belt maybe in the marketing space. This guy's like a 4-stripe black belt, right? And he just said, you got to, number one, have some kind of inbound leads if you want to sell this company. Like it's valued at what you think, but it's not. It could be valued at way more, but because you have no inbound, you go away. Everyone's saying Daniel Molina. Then what's gonna happen with your company? So that was like, dang, dude, I didn't see it that way. And you don't advertise. You don't even eat your own dog food. Like you're trying to help market all these other companies on SEO, PPC, Facebook ads, but you don't even do that for your company. So that sucks too. Like, what are you doing, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, like that, like made me feel like Chris was saying, it humbled me. Like here I'm thinking, I'm pretty good, And then it's like, oh dang, like I still got a lot to learn in this space, right? And of course, I don't ever need to learn, but I thought I had a pretty good progression. I thought I was a pretty good purple belt, like, oh, I'm doing good. And then I got reduced to like, bro, Jack, right? And then churn rate and EBITDA and all this stuff. And so this year I said, all right, I got to get a little bit more knowledgeable about this, acquisitions and buying and selling and positioning your company. Even if you don't want to sell your company, you still got to figure out all these things so that you just know it's going to help grow your company. So then that was a humbling moment of getting punched in the face. And the fruit from that moment, I mean, Chris can tell you all day long, this year we've grown so much from just eating, and we haven't implemented everything yet. We're just trying to get the internal stuff fixed, and then even open up the faucet. But anyways, that was I think that's what you guys are looking for in the story. I mean, I got punched in the face and humbled really quick.
Well, just like in a ring, a jujitsu ring or any ring, a lot of people don't even want to get in it because they don't want to get punched. But it sounds like both of you guys are okay with it and actually take what you learn and go and implement it. And the funny thing about agencies, it seems like most agencies don't actually drink their own Kool-Aid or eat their own dog food or whatever the saying is, like never advertise for themselves. And then the funniest thing is the ones who are the best at advertising themselves usually are no good, on the
Yes.
fulfillment side.
Yes. 100%. Yeah, they usually suck.
So getting both is like that. That's actually turning a company into a valuable asset that can exit if you want.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I learned that. It was a great learn. It was cool too because it was confirmation of what I feel. Again, I have my time with God in the mornings. Of God says, "Hey, man, you need to like I helped you build your company where you are, word of mouth, and that was great." Because I felt like that was a something that the Lord was telling me, "Don't advertise. I just want to help you grow this thing." But then before that conversation, I was having almost conversations, not conversations, but like I was this impression of like, man, maybe I need to start advertising. But then I just go back to, but I feel like the Lord says, "Don't do that." But I needed to. And so I was had this like this fighting in my mind of like, do I need to advertise? But then he says don't and all that stuff. And so when he said that, he was like another confirmation of like, okay, maybe I do need to start advertising. And so and Chris was another confirmation of that of bro, we got something good here. Let's advertise on Facebook. So anyways, it's cool, and I think if anybody's listening to this, you got to get in the ring and get punched in the face. It's like everyone wants to fight until you get punched in the face. And when you get punched in the face, you're like, ooh, that hurts. Right. But man, it's going to make you stronger. Right. Don't let it crumble you. Like, look at all the UFC fighters right now that were at their prime. They eventually get beat. Holloway knocked out the guy, probably the best knockout in the history of UFC fighting, the last fight, and then he got knocked out, right? And so it's like that's part of life, man. You go after the big, but he ain't mad. He got paid. He's doing well. It's like it's just part of it. So if you're listening to this, you're it's not if you fall, if you get punched in the face, is when you get punched in the face, just try not to get that. No, try not to let that happen again. Learn from it.
Knowing Daniel's background and this looping back to what Dmitri was saying about partnerships, I know a little bit about the history that you've had, Daniel, with trusting people in business or thinking that you guys are partnering up on something or doing something that was mutually beneficial and it going wrong. I know about the history of you trying to partner with people, but them not pulling their weight, kind of like what Dimitri was saying. And then here we are, and we have a good thing at Red Palm. And so I'd like for you to speak specifically to the things that went wrong in partnerships, whether you were trying to purchase a business with somebody or start a business with somebody.
Yeah, I think for me, because I have that, how can I give? And I try another facet to how do I give and inspire people is I try to find the gold in everyone, even the jerk, the biggest jerk in the world. Is there gold in him? Because he's not seeing it. And if I could just get him to see that gold, then maybe he would be convicted to want to change and actually be better, and then actually operate his full potential. And so for me, I think in my failures of trying to partner with people is looking at the potential. It's I see the gold, but not everybody wants to dig it out. They just want to leave it covered up, right? Or a diamond in the rough, right? It's like not everyone. So I would always enter these relationships seeing the potential. Oh, I could fix them. I can help them. I'm the guy that can inspire them to be whatever. And so when I try to hire people out of potential, or partner with someone out of potential, I quickly realized I didn't have the language then. I didn't quickly. It was not a quickly learned. Someone had to tell me, but the person told me, hey, the reason why you have these past failures because not everyone is wanting, like, when you say, hey, when you paint the picture, hey, you're gonna have this success, you're gonna have this kind of house, you have this kind of salary, you have this kind of position. Well, everybody wants that. Who doesn't, right? But there's a difference between someone wanting that and then someone wanting to do what it takes to get there, right?
Hmm.
And I think for me, I would paint, here's the possibilities, but then here's what you got to do. Then it was just dry, right? And so um, John Maxwell, in our mastermind, we had access to him, and I asked him this very question that Chris was talking about, and he said, I had to fire myself from hiring people because I always hired off potential. Because John Maxwell is a guy, he's a person, a leader developer. He likes to help leaders, and so for him, he always hired off of that, and that gave me the like, oh my gosh, that's what I've been doing. And that's why these companies that I've started that's failed was because I was partnering and linking with the wrong kind of people. And so with Chris, I didn't learn that lesson. I got lucky with Chris. Like, I didn't have that paradigm shift when I was talking to Chris. However, I was like, Chris, I'm not paying you some big salary. And he didn't want anything. He was working for free in the beginning. He's like, I don't care. Don't pay me nothing. I just want to learn. Right. And so Chris kind of grew into where I think you're making over double than what you were getting paid in your old job. It's like, but he started off for free. And that told me a lot, because most people who want to start with me is like, oh, well, I got to get some kind of base of this and that. Right. And so not that it's wrong, but I didn't learn that lesson. Chris was just a blessing that God just put in my lap. But I didn't learn that lesson until literally this year. So yeah, so Chris was definitely a just like, I got lucky, I got blessed, however you want to call it. But it wasn't this year until I learned the lesson of don't hire off potential. And so I think as you're linking arms to partnerships, most partnerships don't work, but there's some that do, right? Obviously, y'all two are doing really well. Chris and I are doing well. I had another friend of mine, Kenyon Coleman, who I did really well with in our coffee shop that we started in Grapevine, Texas. But then I also had bad ones, and so now I don't hire potential. Now I think one thing in landing the ship is one thing I learned about business acquisition, or even any deals that you're going into, you have to be able to mitigate the risk, or at least have equal risk. I have another partner I own a company, a tree service company that we started in March, and that was 50-50 partnership. And this one's doing well. It's doing fantastic. And I think when you try to have a partnership with someone, you have to equalize the risk. If you own all the risk and this person has he has upside, but no downside, then usually those partnerships aren't going to work. Right. And so with Chris and I, it was equal because he was working for free. I had somebody who was helping me out. Right. So his risk was, I'm doing a lot of stuff for free, potentially maybe getting paid in the future. That's risk, right? That's a downside. The upside is I'm learning. Where me is like, hey, I'm investing in this guy. I'm not paying him. So the upside for me is to pay him. But then the downside is I'm investing all this time that might be wasted, right, in the future. And so I constantly always try to see how do we continue to keep that the same. And hey, Chris, and with Chris, he's always implementing things. He was always implementing things, right? And so I saw he's taking it serious and he's helping, he's learning, right? And so I think if anything, in partnerships, don't hire off potential. I mean, that could be a variable, but it can't be the only thing, right? And then do like a 90-day test of like, hey, let's not sign any contractual things until we test this out. If you can't get to that equal risk, factor, you got to find a way out. If there's no way out where you feel good about it, or you're going to be sick to your stomach, then I would not enter in that partnership.
I think a lot of people are seek out partnerships because that's what everyone is kind of doing. It's like, well, I'm hearing you're partnering with him and that guy's partnering with that girl, and man, I got to find myself a partner. How do you know when it's time to get into a partnership?
That is a hard question because it's based off of where you are in your season in your life. For me, I was looking for a partner for years, and I thought I had a guy, but I just couldn't. Great potential, just wouldn't work, just wouldn't get stuff done, right? And so for me, I knew I needed a partner because I can't be the only like I'm the only leader in my area, in my space, and I'll have no one to bounce things off. And so for me, when I was looking at Chris, like Chris didn't become a partner until what, 2 years ago, I think, Chris, or a year ago. Like we're now you're part owner of Red Palm. And so it was me seeing him as a future partner, not in the beginning. But I had value though. I had an asset. I had a company, already a successful company. But I want to get to that next level. And so for me in my season, I'm like, I can only get so far, but I can't hold the ship by myself. I need somebody else to get to the level at where I'm at. I need another black belt in this business because I can't do it on my own. But I had an already successful company, right? I'm just trying to double. I'm just trying to get better, which I have. We've doubled what we made since I've hired Chris. And so where someone who has no asset and but they don't want to carry all the risk of starting a company, well, that's a different conversation, right? Well, I don't have any money to really put in this. I need a angel investor, or I need somebody who has more money, and then maybe I have the brains and they have the money, and we can. And then you go to that same thing I just said. Okay, well, if he has the money and you have the brains, try to find equalize downside and upside. Does this person have an upside and downside, and you have an upside, and is it equal? It'll never be perfect, but at least you're trying to mitigate the upside and downside of that partnership, right? And then always have a way out where you both feel comfortable without any money, without any success being on the table, right? You got to have those conversations so that when $1 million, 2 million, 3 million gets into the table, then there's no emotions. I closed that client for 500,000. What did you do, right? No. There's $0 made, and we came up with this agreement in the beginning. So no matter if you close it or I close it, we already agreed it with there's nothing there, right? That's where people get in trouble. So if you, I don't know how to answer that question because everyone is in a different season of life if you need a partner or not. I would say in the beginning, try to do everything yourself, right? I remember my well, I say that. My mentor says, Daniel, the first company you start, you won't own you don't you'll probably mostly not own barely any of it, or you own very little bit of it. The second company you start, and the third company you start owning more and more and more because you learn from the first, right? And so by your third or fourth company, you're owning 100% of it, and you don't need any partners because you learn. But in the beginning, you're going to need partners because you need to learn, and you need angel investors. You got no money, or you need this kind of knowledge, or you need this kind of person. So you have like a 3-person partnership, and maybe it goes sour, but at least you learned, right? And then the second one, right? And so my point is, maybe in the beginning you may need a partnership. I was able to do it without a partner, right? And that's not for everybody. But I would just say you have to evaluate where you are in your walk towards whatever success you're going, and say, if I got another 10 grand or 15 grand, or if I got a guy that's a good CFO or a good VP or a good whatever, is it worth giving up a percentage of my company? Or do I just do some profit sharing? Or do I just pay for bonuses and still get that? See what I'm saying? So it's a hard question. I would have to talk to somebody, hear their heart, hear where they're going, and then give them advice based off of that.
To build on that, speaking of lessons learned, I'll go here. I'll go first here. Is that one of the things I've learned in doing business, doing life with Daniel is, um, Daniel has a big heart. I have a big heart, and I think that heart can get us in trouble in different ways, right? It just does. One of the things I've had to learn about business is it's business, it's not personal. And when you have a big heart like that, you want to help. And sometimes when you want to help people, not just employees, it could be clients, it doesn't go so well. Dmitri, I'm sure you've been here. Daniel, I know that we've been here. Let's talk about times where we don't have to have specifics, but just times in general when you've had a big heart and you're trying to help clients and it doesn't pay off, quite literally. Talk about how you started to learn how to tighten that up and not make those mistakes again.
When it comes to clients,
Yeah, let's say clients that we're trying to help them, and there's clients that we've had a big heart for and it works out, and there's clients we had a big heart for and it didn't, right? um, but we've had to make adjustments as a result. And so I think for any new business, a brand new entrepreneur, it's easy to make the mistake of, oh, such and such, it's okay, it's 5 months, it's 6 months, it's okay, and then one day it's not, right?
yeah.
And you
So
have
I
to
see
you
what
have
you're
to make those adjustments. And so let's talk. Again, we don't have to have specific stories, but let's talk about that process.
Yeah, I think you have to ultimately realize you're running a business and you have a heart. If you want a charity, you have like a charity case. We have charity case clients for sure, but if you want to run a charity, then you're in the wrong business. You're in a business to make money. You're not a 501c3. If we're a 501c3 Red Palm Studio, not an LLC, but 501c3, well, then, of course, we're a charity and we're trying to help. We have patience with people. Even then, you have processes and boundaries and right. But in the area where I'm at, um, I often run my company in certain situations where there's more charity than what needed to happen because at the end of the day, it was sinking my ship. because I was so generous with my time. And I was paying employees, I was paying for a lot for this client, and or clients. This happens quite often. Not anymore because we corrected it, but in the beginning it was like I would just do stuff. I mean, I'll get you paid, or hey man, just do this for me. Hey man, I have a big Rolodex of people. You know, if you do this for me, then I'm gonna be able to help you out here. So there's all these things where I have a big heart to help people, but and again, I'm here in this business to make money because I had to provide income for my family. And at any time that I'm trying to do something for free, or I have more grace on payment, or I'm trying to do stuff for people, it's robbing time and energy from my family because I'm spending the time helping that person. When I was a one-man show, I did that a lot. And Lucy, my wife, said, you need to stop doing that. People are taking advantage of you, and they're not respecting your time, and they're robbing you from your time, right? And so I had to first see the value in me, and then I had to see the value in my company and what I bring. And 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 it's okay to say, hey man, like cutting you off and firing you as a client is not personal. It's just that, hey, we have to go a different direction because I have to pay now. I have to pay employees. I have things to pay, and anytime you're late or you're you having a hard time, and it's not our fault as a marketer, it's something that maybe your employees quit on you, and now you're stuck, and you were going to make this much money, now you can't. There's grace for that, but when it's 2, 3, 4 months of that, we have to put boundaries and say, hey, we're paying you to grow your company, not you paying us to grow your company, right? And so we actually, this is recent. We implemented it this year. I was like, we're done. We're done with charity. We're done with it. Not that all situations, but we push some stuff in our company because we have a big heart that we have to hold ourselves accountable because I'm not a bank. I'm not Elon Musk where I can buy, Twitter and whatever. Like I don't have that kind of money. And so anybody will eventually, when you have 5, 10 clients that are charity cases, it's going to sink your ship. Right. And so you have a big heart to help them. But don't do it in the expense of losing your company because your cash flow goes away because you're trying to help too many people. You got to put things in place so that you don't sink your own ship. And really, and it's not even sinking ship money wise. Maybe it doesn't sink our ship money wise. It could sink the ship of your moral, the morality in your company being frustrated, right? Because they're helping these people that are, you know, either not appreciative or they're complaining or whatever, right? It's just it just starts draining your staff because they're working for something. And I mean they're still getting paid because I have to pay them, but it's just those kind of charity clients you got to be careful with because when those charity clients come in, they're desperate, they're needing help, and the companies who are successful usually takes less time of your time, where the people who are charity accounts they take most of your time, right? And so just got to be careful with that. I hope I'm making sense with this.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And it sounds like you guys have overcome several challenges and now have a lot of the process that you want in place and things are working better. You still have more to do, but so I want to ask about marketing. And I mean, we are the Amazing Marketing Show, and we kind of know what Chris does more or less, but I would love to hear from you, Daniel. Is like, what is it that you guys do at the company, and what is it about marketing that's so important to businesses?
Well, okay, again, it depends on the niche, right? And our space is the trades, right? 95% of our clients are the trades, and so in the space of the trades, the most important thing is being found on Google, right? Being found on search engines because that's where everyone's going to look for a home service contractor. And so for us, the number one thing is making sure that you're found, right? If you're not found, who cares if your website's beautiful? Who cares if you got a great story? You got call to actions and graphics and everything else is going great. You have great, employees and a good team. If no one finds you, then you're gone, right? That's with marketing anyway. I mean, that's any product service, right? Really. If no one can find your product or service, you're not going to be successful. So in the area of the trades is first getting on the front page of Google or Yelp or whatever citation that they use directory to find a home service contractor. Then once you achieve that, then making sure your website's beautiful, the story is great, the value proposition. Why should I choose you as a plumber? Everyone says they can help me, but what makes you different than all the other plumbers that says, hey, we can help you and we're awesome and we're great and we're 5-star and we're right? Your story has to be better than everybody else's story. And I think Chris and I have done really well with studying that process. Is how do we tell our story better than the other plumber? Because just because you get on front page of Google, there's still 2 other people or 4 other people they're competing for that same call. And so I think marketing generally is be found, and your story's got to be better than anybody else. And if your story's not better than anybody else, no one's going to pick you. Now with Tamu and where like I wear melon hats, but now there's other melon hats that are cheaper. They're not $60. They're $14 on Tamu. I mean, you got to wait next year to get it, but hey, they're on Tamu, right? And so but my point is, is Melon telling a better story of their hats than these mock-ups, right? So what I'm saying, there's always gonna be a cheaper, better, whatever storyteller out there. And it doesn't mean that, like you were saying earlier, it doesn't mean that they're a better company. Is they just told the story better, right? And so marketing, I think, ultimately is telling your story to where you get that person to buy from you or hire you for service, right? Now, how you get your story in front of whatever, depending on what vertical you're in or what you're trying to sell, then we can have that discussion. So I guess ultimately it's the story. It's what's your value proposition? Why should I choose you? Why? And sometimes you're not even selling it. Sometimes you're just selling entertainment, right? Like this podcast. What's our story, man? If you listen to this podcast, you're going to learn from entrepreneurs, CEOs, good people, and then it's going to make you better as a personal growth company. You're going to learn so much. So the story here is the entertainment value, but not only entertainment, but the learning factor that, I remember just from learning from other people, one meeting with someone, one podcast made me hundreds of thousands of dollars just from implementing one podcast. Right. And so that's, so it doesn't matter if it's a product or service. It should be, you're selling entertainment, you're selling, knowledge, you're selling information. It's just be the best of that. And I think that's marketing.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
well,
Dmitri.
Chris, before I wanted to follow up on that, and Chris, I mean, he talks about what you guys do, and I think in to some degree he's being modest, and I kind of want to give both of you guys an opportunity to tell our audience, because I'm sure there's people in the trades and home services that are looking for marketing tips, and they're hearing what you're saying, Daniel, and it's like it's all about the story. Well, maybe they need an agency, maybe they need to work with Red Palm, and I'm wondering what's the story about Red Palm and what makes you guys so good?
That's
Chris,
all you, Danny. Nah, take it, please.
I think for us is that, when it's easy for me to say, we love to say we're a no fluff agency. We're not going to come at you with all these reports and stuff that you don't understand. And so the agency that we provide is because we're talking to trades, they don't understand SEO, KPIs, and the jargon that we use, cost per click and all that stuff. And so what we take pride in is we allow if you ask every person if we close them or not, and every sales call, they leave that conversation. And the reason why I know this is because they tell me, man, I felt like I got educated. Like I was just in school and you taught me so much from all the meetings I've had, from everything. Like I have now been empowered to make a great decision as a business owner in what we do. Right. And so for me, what sets us apart in our story is that we're no fluff. We're going to tell you how to do it. It's not rocket science at the end of the day. I mean, I've been doing this for 24 years, but 17 years specifically in the trades. But for me, it's like we're telling the story. We're like showing them under the hood. We're not this like shady company where we're trying to not let them see in the hood. Like, no, let me show you how this works. Because they're not going to go hire an inside agency. They can go try to hire a marketing guy, an SEO guy, and then now their marketing budget is going to be $500,000 a year versus $100,000 a year, right? So I already know they're not going to do that. So I think brutal honesty of telling them what's going on, here's how you do it, is what sets us apart as an agency. And even on our monthly reports, if we crap the bed, we let them know. We don't try to hide it. We just said the reality. And then, but the difference is when we crap the bed, we make it right. Right. And I think that's at the end of the day, that's the difference. It's like we have clients who's been with us for 12, 14 years, 8 years, 9 years, and we're month to month. We don't have year contracts. We are month to month. Why? Because, and you think about that, a 10-year relationship, you think we're perfect every single month? Of course not. I would say majority of the months, yeah, they grew year over year, but it's because we are always honest and we help them grow year over year. We help them grow. And so I think the difference between us and like a big agency, and I won't mention names, that have way more money than us, way more sales guys out there. Like their front door is as big as their back door. They're losing guys. The shelf life of a client 6 months. But hey, that's their business model. Hey, at least we made 50 grand from that. So let's get more of those, right? That's not our model. Our model is brutal honesty. We cut the fluff and we make sure that our clients are empowered, but it's for our benefit, right? Because what I mean by that is if my client's educated of what ROI is and how SEO works and how PPC works, how Facebook works, how social media and all that stuff, how that works, then when we're bringing to them wins, they see it as a win. They don't see it as like, well, what does that mean? And like they see, oh yeah, I can see why it takes 6 months to get on the front page of Google, and you did it in 3 months. Wow, see what I'm saying? Like it benefits. Hey, it takes time, and depending on the market, and if you go Silicon Valley, spending $1,000 a month trying to show on the front page of Google, good luck. That's like tech capital, right? But if you go in Podunk, Oklahoma town, that know nothing about SEO, $1,000 might work. Right, because no one knows, what's SEO. They're reading the newspaper. Nothing against Oklahoma. I lived in Texas for 27 years, so I just understand the country. They're still on the phone book.
Well,
give me the phone book.
Yeah, you lived in Texas 27. No wonder you're talking trash on Oklahoma. Then it makes sense.
right. OU, forget OU, bro. UT, right. And so for me, it's like. It's just I feel like we're educators, and when we educate our customers, that's what sets it apart. Most agencies don't educate customers. They just concentrate on KPIs, ROIs, and hey, we made you this much money, or hey, we get you all these leads, and they hide everything. I'll say this last thing. I have a client of mine that moved over to us, and he showed me the dashboard of this big mega agency, and they were taking credit. They were taking credit for something that they didn't even do. Like he removed this vertical, this LSA, it was on Google Local Service Ads. They were taking credit for leads that they're not even controlling. So for their dashboard says, hey, we gave you 250 leads. 144 of those leads were not even from them. It was like something else that this client was doing on their own. And so these agencies don't want to educate you. They want to hide it so that they look good so they can keep you longer. That's not us. If we crap the bed and we suck, go find another agency. But that doesn't happen.
I gotta build on that briefly because I know we're coming up against time. But there's 2 points. First point I want to make about Dmitri, and it's all going to come together. Dmitri, I appreciate you talking about us, but I also want to talk about you, Daniel. Dmitri has an agency called Big Life Agency. Dmitri's a bit of a unicorn. He just runs his business by himself. Dmitri's a like genius, right? And so he runs this company. And the thing about Dmitri, though, Daniel, is that he is. I describe his business as a consulting business disguised as an agency. So you hire him to run your ads, but what Dmitri does, he has a background in math, right? Math guy comes in, gets in your books, and he consults. Like he sees the whole picture, like, oh, boom, boom, boom. So it's kind of like what you're talking about with educating. Dmitri does it in his own way, even at an accounting perspective, a CFO perspective. And then there's one more thing with Dmitri. We were on a mastermind call this week, and one of the leaders of the call called Dmitri out. And he's like, here's the thing about Dmitri. Dmitri will say, hey, we're doing all this, and the problem is you guys aren't answering the phone. Okay, so we're going to answer the phone for you. Think about this. Like, it's not like, hey, you need to pay. He goes and he just goes and solves the problem. And I haven't told you this, Daniel. I'm like, man, can we do an answering service for all our clients? Daniel, no. But it planted a seed. Like, man, our clients have these problems. What if we just had this part of our agency that solved it for them? Because there's some of the common problems. So let me say all that to say this: when Dimitri's asking about the difference that makes a difference, I think for all three of us is that we're not just, and Daniel, we talk about this, we're not just showing up, sitting in a cubicle, working for 8 hours, and then going home. That's not any of us on this podcast right now. Marketing spaghettis with our lives.
Yeah.
We're learning, we're watching stuff, we're investing in this because it's important to us, to the point where it's a part of us. Do we identify? Is it us? No, but it is a part of us. And
Yeah.
that fact that it's a part of us is the difference that makes a difference for all of our agencies.
Yeah. We're having our coffee talks with some guys here is about marketing, right? It doesn't stop at 5 o'clock. It's at 10 o'clock at night. Oh, you know what? I wonder if this AI would be good for this client, right? Because it's fun. It's like, because if they
Yes.
win, that's awesome. We're making people win, right? So I love that, Dmitri, you do that, because it's like you're helping them win. And if you keep helping them win, they grow, then, which is more money to spend in marketing, which then helps them grow more money. So, because, if you think about marketing, if it's 10%, 14% of the gross revenue, like, they're obviously making a lot of money, right? It's very small percentage of how much money they're making. And so if you go in the stock market and say, hey, we helped your company grow 25% year over year, they'll give you way more money. Like, how do I get more of that, right? And that's why VC firms are buying up all these trades, because the stock market is giving them 10 to 14%, and the trades are almost guaranteeing 18%. And if you're really good, you're getting 25%. And so when you help people win, to your point, Chris, that we live marketing. We don't, obviously when I'm with my kids, I'm present with my kids, and I'm not thinking marketing, but I'm on YouTube. How do we present and listen from other professionals on how to do better marketing? And so that's why I love what you said, Chris. It's like, yeah, this is fun for us, and it's not a cubicle job where we're clocking out and just trying to make money. We love helping people grow, and that's why the balance of those charity clients is like, oh, we got to have a balance. I mean, we love to help people grow, but you can't take up all of our time, for pennies. You just can't do it.
One of the things I really like that you mentioned, Daniel, was that you show them, or the metaphor was you show them under the hood. And it reminded me actually of an actual mechanic that came and said, hey, come take a look at this. This is what we need to fix. Look, like, it's broken. I'll show you. And for the first time ever, I'm like, I finally trust this mechanic. And it was an amazing feeling. So I'm sure your clients feel that way too. Like, wow, you're actually telling me and you can help me. And that becomes a partnership in its own. So that's really cool. And I want to end, probably have to end with this, and maybe this will be a cliffhanger, and maybe we'll have to have a part two, but I want to bring it back to the beginning. And Chris mentioned affiliate marketing, that were corporate world, and how you guys met in a small town in Texas. Tell me about those affiliate days and transitioning now into more of this more traditional online marketing. But I want to hear more about those old days.
Well, I was doing the affiliate stuff. Daniel was still in he was building his agency. But do you want to talk to how we met, Daniel? Or
Yeah, let's hear the small town
Yeah.
meeting.
So Chris did affiliate, and I understood what affiliate marketing was. Just knew what that was. And so, but I was more in the space again of SEO was like my bread and butter, like organic listing. Like, I was really good at that. And PPC, I was okay. Display ads, stuff like that. Obviously, you just buy, that doesn't, and social media ads, I wasn't good at that either. And so, but I know SEO, because SEO for my clients is 60% of call volume. So if I was just an SEO company, that's enough people to hire us. But I knew for me, I had to be better at everything else, because most of my clients want a one-stop shop. They don't want SEO company over here, PPC company over here, social media company over here. They want to go to one person to handle this all. So they forced me to want to be really good and proficient at everything, right? Not just SEO. And so when I hired Chris on, I told him, hey, I got to hand this PPC off, because I just can't do it all. So I taught Chris PPC, everything that I knew about PPC. I thought it was decent. I had pretty good numbers with PPC. But then now Chris just blew past my knowledge of PPC. Like, he just took it and run. Says, hey, you got to push yourself and learn and make this better, because I only know so much. And so, and then to the point where like he's getting numbers that I'm like blows my mind. My client, we're telling our clients, don't advertise this number because it's not easily duplicated in other markets of how good they're getting their PPC number down, right? And so I would say with Chris, the affiliate helped with what we do with the psyche of a human being on how to get clients and customers, right? How to get conversion, because affiliate world is conversion, just like everything else, but more so affiliate of landing pages, splash page, squeeze pages, email blasts, right? Is hey, buy through me, right? And so that really helped enhance Red Palm as a service because of the affiliate world, and then him learning on his own more about PPC, and then so if anything, he helped me on a lot on the social media side because I didn't do any advertisement in social media, and so he really figured out with forms and just different cool things that we do that's way different. That he even sees a lot of wins from that. So I think in the beginning, the affiliate world, though we don't do anything affiliate when it comes to Red Palm, it did translate into the world of conversion and landing pages and social media and trying to get leads.
And Dmitri, I think we get that cliffhanger because then next time we have Daniel on, we could talk about the origin story of meeting at a random meeting at dinner at Del Frisco in South Lake, Texas, and then it spawned into this. So I think this is a good place to stop.
Yeah, well, Del Frisco, I mean, that's kind of fancy. There's like, okay, it's a small town and it's a steakhouse. So what's going on? How does this happen? We'll find out all about it next time. Daniel, thank you so much for coming on this podcast of the Amazing Marketing Show. I know you and Chris have an amazing relationship and came out during the intros. You guys have a lot of love for each other and sharing it out into the world and your clients and your families. And it's a blessing to have you on. So thank you.
Thank you for having me, man. It was awesome talking to you guys and finally meeting you. Heard lots of things, good things about you.
All right, fellas.
Peace.
Aloha.
Peace.